So welcome, we made it. So the first physical Xen Summit in 3 years after weathering pandemic and craziness in the area where we were going to be in Bucharest, and then the Queen's funeral yesterday. So thank you so much to our sponsors for sponsoring, and that is this. So we only have 2 virtual rooms this year, so unfortunately we don't have kind of a socialization space. If you want to chat with the other virtual attendees, then I think just go ahead and join #Xen on OFDC.net, just the normal Xen development IRC channel. You can find the link to the IRC channel and the information about that on the XenProject.org webpage. So the physical space, basically, Robert's going to correct me if I'm wrong here, but so we have these 2 spaces here. More or less, Robert was expecting, so we basically have the run of any part of the upstairs here that you don't have to go through with a key card. Okay, so there's the kitchen right over there that's going to have coffee and snacks and whatever, but also there's loads of conference rooms on the other side here, just kind of if you come into the building, if you turn left instead of turning right. Most of those are actually reserved for us, and if they're not reserved, then you can just kind of use it. And if an Amazon person comes in and says they have a meeting, then just move to a different space, basically. But if you feel like you want to have a quiet time to, like, basically if you need your own conference room to do the hackathon thing, or you want to like have a private meeting or whatever, those are all available for us to use as well.
And there's the library space as well, with some armchairs that's all the way around.
Yeah, so all the way around to the left there, there's kind of it's sort of more library sort of space, kind of study space. It's got books on the walls and like plush comfy chairs and stuff like that. It's really cool. So check it out at least once.
And we're able to use the balcony as well. If you find Amazon employee with a blue badge, we can get out onto the balcony around the building.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that? No. Yeah. So hopefully we can just have this laptop and the slides on this laptop. If for some reason we need to have your laptop connected to the system, make sure that when you plug into the so you will have to connect the Big Blue Button yourself. You will have to share your screen within the Big Blue Button system. Okay, and then you have to make sure that the audio does not go through the room audio, but goes through your laptop audio. Because if the audio goes through the room audio, then you will get a weird, crazy feedback thing. Okay, so make sure that the output of the audio goes through your laptop, and then that will hopefully be picked up somewhat by either it'll just go to the room because it's a small room, and it'll be picked up by the speaker here, by the mic that's going into the room. Yes, so design sessions. So if you haven't, so we always have new people who haven't done the design. We've done design session stuff for many years now, but we always have new people who haven't really done it before. So go to designsessions.xenproject.org, and so at this point now you'll need this validation code to create an account, or if you've already created an account, then to sort of make yourself to register it so you can use it properly. So basically the idea is, so one thing that's very important that I didn't set up properly initially, okay, is make sure that you set your default time zone to Europe/London. When you create the account, the default will have been Europe/Berlin, which will be, of course, an hour or 2 off. So make sure you set that to the appropriate time. Then what happens is basically anyone who's in the system can create a session to say, I want to talk about this topic. And then everyone goes through and says how much they rate each thing as far as how much they want to attend that session. Okay, and then there's basically a little, you could call it an AI. It's not deep learning stuff. It's just an algorithm, right? But there's a little AI in there that it knows that you can only be in one place at one time, and it assumes that you'll go to the session that you were most interested in, and it gets points based on how many sessions you can attend, right? It gets 100 points if you can go to the very session. It gets 75 points if you can go to a yes session. It gets 25 points if you go to a little session. And it doesn't get 8 points if you can go to a none session, right? So then what it will do is so when we run the scheduler, it will try and place slots such that it gets the maximum number of points. So here's like one, a tentative arrangement of it, where it reckons 9 people will be attending this talk, and it gets 600 points for that, for the schedule, right? Now, how it works is we run the schedule, and it places the entire schedule, but we only lock and fix one block at a time. Does it make sense? So Wednesday morning before the first session, we will run the scheduler, and then we will lock in place. So you see this here, it says tentative, right? We will lock in place just the sessions for that morning until lunch. And then the tentative thing here, which is on green, and say final, okay? Then after lunch, we'll run the scheduler again and lock the ones for the afternoon. And then Thursday morning, we run the scheduler again and lock the ones for Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, and so on. So that basically you can continue to add more discussion sections. You can propose more discussion sections as the event goes on, okay? It's kind of our experience if you've never seen these discussion sections before. Say, oh, wow, they get the idea, they think, hey, this is really cool, and then they sort of add new things. Furthermore, there's often design sessions which ideas would come up as a result of talks or as a result of follow-on things from the discussion sections, or sometimes you didn't finish all the thing you want to talk about in the discussion section. Feel free to just make another one and basically you can make one up until lunchtime on Thursday. What's next? Right, so that is how that will work. So the design session, so if you propose that you're the session leader, make sure that you would nominate someone else who is not going to be a primary part of the discussion to take notes. Like if you were the discussion section leader, you are not going to be able to take notes and talk at the same time, okay? And if you are one of the people who is primarily going to be jumping in and doing all the talking, you're also not going to be able to take notes, right? So make sure you find someone who is kind of probably not going to talk a huge amount and to take notes for the session. And then if you're going to use the we should have, hopefully we can get some whiteboard markers for the whiteboards here in these rooms. We're going to have a laptop, so point the laptop camera at the webcam here. Maybe do the so anyway, yeah, I'll allow that. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So feel free to disable the camera if you don't want to be seen. But yeah. So point the camera at the whiteboards so that if there's any drawings or something like that, the remote people can see what's going on. And send the notes to Zenville afterwards. And so, of course, socialization. We have the dinners this evening and tomorrow evening at the old bicycle shop. The old bicycle shop is probably about maybe 3/4 mile walk upwards into town, and the wine rooms are just kind of around the corner here. So see you then. Okay. Any questions about the space and how we're going to run things and how the conference is going to go? No. So the weather report, there we go. So the first thing I want to say is I want to officially sort of announce and welcome that AMD Xilinx has joined the Xen project again. So AMD Xilinx have been significant consumers and contributors to Xen for a number of years. So they have the Xilinx has their own Zinc distribution, which is designed to run Xen on their own platform. We have, they've been supporting Xen running on like truly embedded platforms like screwdrivers and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. They've been one of the leaders, along with EPAM and ARM, to really drive towards the functional safety certification, which is going to be a major opening up new markets for Xen. And of course, they've been working closely with ARM and EPAM and Zephyr and a lot of other open source projects in the future. So I just wanted to invite Thomas from Xilinx to come on in and just say a few words.
Yeah, thanks, George. I don't know if I need to have a camera on here, but it worked.
Up to you. Go
ahead. Yeah. So I'm Thomas Evanson. I'm running the open source program office here at Xilinx, or AMD as we are now. We got acquired here 6 months ago or so. So really excited to join the the Xen project. Obviously, as just mentioned, Stefan has been really engaged in it for a long time here. For us, the importance of Xen really is that our customers are integrating more and more functionality into the devices that they build, and they need that isolation, the separation, and Xen is really a great platform to do that. So it's becoming really business critical for us to have good Xen solutions, and that's one of the reasons why we joined now. So thanks so much.
Right. Let's plug them. Okay. So just year in review, with 4.16 passed, I feel like 4.16 had a lot of, going back and looking over it, had a lot of improved support for DOM0, improved 64-bit heterogeneous ARM systems, improved a number of things. We sort of more firmly deprecated a lot of really old systems. So 32-bit PV guests are only supported in SHIB mode now, and we no longer build QEMU traditional or PV by default. Of course, we have some ongoing initiatives. We have initiatives that are really making significant progress. So the FUSA, we're actually checking things into the tree now as far as Mr. C functionality and so on. The Hyper launch has made a lot of forward progress. There's a lot of things that are making kind of either slower progress or kind of more behind the scenes progress, right? So the VirtIO stuff is still kind of moving forward. Amazon, I know, is still working on the live update, but we haven't seen a lot of those patches hit the tree yet. The Open Power port, the RISC-V ports, like I understand that people are kind of working on those, but they're not as full-time as they were before. The Open Power port in particular, someone donated Bitcoin specifically to support the work, and then the value of the Bitcoin dropped, is my understanding. So the person's had to kind of work on something, do that kind of as a background project. And upcoming, we have the AMD SAV stuff, which is a lot of kind of, people talking about, and but the funding isn't quite there yet. As always, we have a long tail of diverse contributions. So, we can see sort of SUSE and Citrix are still like, right here at the top. But ARM and ARM-related companies make up a much larger share. So I think last year ARM's percentage, so this is emails sent to the mailing list, okay, to the XenDemil mailing list. And so this year ARM has sent 11%, and last year was close to like 5%. And Xilinx and EPAM were kind of more like 4 and 5% last year, kind of 6% this year. So definitely becoming larger in contribution from that. We have the we have the initiative to try to do some level of project management with the Git epics, which Mark from Vates has been kind of spearheading. Citrix and Vates have started to do some official kind of collaboration, and I think a lot of the discussions about what's going to happen have been happening already at this conference. Henry Wong from ARM, I think, has done a really good job as a release coordinator, and has kind of raised the bar for what we expect from release coordinators. So really good. So this is an interesting one. So this is along with the, so this is again kind of a long tail of contributors. So it's not even just a long tail of companies, but a lot of different people, right? So obviously we have one outlier here. Jan has done a lot of work. So this is again sending emails to the email list, right? But we have a very large number of so 1% and 2% here from a number of very different companies, and a very large chunk of people who send to the list who like this very, very large number here so it's not dominated by one set of people or one company. Some more numbers I want to share. So, okay, if you look at this to begin with, this might be a little bit concerning. Right? So again, this is emails sent to XenDemil every month for the last 4 years, right? And this, actually, sorry. Sorry, I just noticed that the people on that side of the room were like looking way over at the screen. So I've made their screen see the same thing we're all saying. Okay, so this looks like a worrying trend to begin with, because obviously this is the number of emails sent to the email list per month for the last 4 years. But when you dig into it a little more, it tells a more interesting story, I think. So basically, so the blue line is emails from Citrix employees, and the green lines is emails from anyone else. What we see here is that actually the the emails from Citrix employees have been going down, and this is a trend that's been basically happening since about 2015. But they have, in the last year or so, stabilized and kind of hit a steady state. Whereas the number of basically from everybody else has been quite steady. Now, the reason I wanted to share this is because in 2015, I know Lars was very, very concerned that if Citrix were to significantly reduce their investment in Xen, the amount they were giving into Xen, then basically the community as a whole would kind of evaporate and collapse. And so the first half of that fear has come true, that Citrix has invested quite a bit less in Xen over the last several years than they were in 2015. But the second part has not come true, right? So this is no longer, there was a time when Citrix was, one of the biggest contributors to the project. And Citrix, this is no longer like a mainly Citrix project, right? We have transitioned into being a diverse, there's that. So we've transitioned to be a robust, self-sustaining community that doesn't rely on one company anymore. So I think that really tells a good story. So forecast, this is a weather report. So, I mean, this slide that we've been saying for a long time, on the embedded automotive side, so Xen is already in the ARM, automotive reference architecture. As many people have said, Xen is currently being used kind of for prototype stages, but because Xen is difficult to safety certify, when you actually build the final product, then you have to switch to a different hypervisor. But Xen has some distinctives that make it a very good candidate for this space. So it's microkernel design, means that it moves in less than a second. You can have direct booting of VMs, and it's actually small enough you could feasibly safety certify it. At the same time, it's open source, which means it's cheaper and you can do a lot of other things. There's all the advantages of the open source development method. And it has a mature community, unlike a lot of the other open source, micro hypervisors. So Xen is in a really key position to make a big space in this space. So the functional safety initiative could make Xen like basically the premier open source hypervisor for automotive, if that takes off. On the server side, I think there's kind of an opportunity here. So looking at kind of the tea leaves, no one knows exactly what's going to happen, but it looks kind of like VMware is likely to withdraw from large parts of the market. So there's a presentation you can find from Broadcom, who bought VMware earlier this year, that said their goal is to focus on the top 600 customers in the market, kind of leaving everyone else to sort of do whatever they want. I think partly what this says, and there was also, recently announced the SEC that they had accused VMware of actually falsifying the numbers back in 2019. Because the numbers were falling, they were trying, basically deceiving investors to say the numbers were falling slower than they appeared to be, basically. Make it appear to be falling slower than they actually were, right? So what this tells me is that the market can't really support a proprietary hypervisor anymore. But that means there's an opportunity for hypervisors that use a more efficient development model. You don't have to have all of the code written by one exact company, right? And so in this space, of course, you have KVM, but you also have Xen. And Xen has some distinctives. So we have a mature security response process, which means if you build your cloud with Xen, then you can be very robustly told about security issues ahead of time, rather than learning about them kind of when the CVE comes out. We have excellent open source tool stack, and we have an architecture which allows advanced security features like driver domains and so on. So I think there's an opportunity here for companies in the virtualization space to make some more kind of motion than has been happening before. And that is the main thing that I had. So again, thank you to our sponsors, and I want to ask, are there any questions or comments about that?